what's going on? Got a few people in here. That's good. That's cool. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and get into reading, and let's go ahead and get it done. So for those who don't know, um, if you get Sawyer tap water system filtration, now I just want to say this right quick because we're just going to get right into reading. I know a lot of people have issues with things made in certain places, but this is made in Florida. I use this on my tap. Okay. Now I have all kind of different water filtration systems, stuff they carry. Now I have three of these. I even have life water things that I can go into the murkiest water and literally drink from it, where it's got the carb, it's got all that stuff in it. Now this is micro. I forget the size of it. I can read it. There's no need. If you really want to get like something to filter out the water to store, go ahead and do that. Now you can add to the water that you store, and I think the shelf life on adding iodine or chlorophyll is like a couple of drops to a gallon of water of chlorophyll and 1 drop of iodine, and that roughly lasts about 3 to 5 months. Now we know it takes about 3 gallons a day per individual. I'm not talking about the cleaning part. I'm talking about at least drinking a gallon at least. It depends on how you're moving, and the other part is just washing up and cooking. About 3 gallons of water a day per person. So I would advise you to go ahead and get one. This is a tap water filter. It just slides up on it, and it also has the other device where you can screw it on if that's what you want to do, and it has where you can put it on the life bag that's in here. I'm going to share some tea with you guys, okay? Because I find that it's important because most people don't know these things. Mine is downstairs, so this is the cap off of it. So here's the hose, and then I've always got to check everything, and this is the second one I'm using. This is the one for a different size, like if you want to wash under it. Now you gotta get a different sprinkle head. It slides right up on it. It's like a vacuum. You can screw that right on the top. I'll put that right there, and it's got the instructions for those who require that. Okay, it's best to read the instructions regardless. Okay, then you have. I'll show you this. This is real quick. I actually had it all out and I put it back up. I was like, I said, then you know what? Before I read, let the music play for a little bit. Okay. And that way you'll have, you know what I mean? So now on the filter itself, this will slide over the end, which is this right here. Okay. Or you can put it on the other side. Now you can zip tie it if you want to keep it tight. You can put a little black tiny zip tie. Go out and buy a bag of little tiny zip ties, like 50, 25, 50 cent, 49 cent or something like that. Anywho, let's pull this up and get this one over here. That screws on the end. So you can take the end off and put this on. You can put this on the back for a larger spigot, or you can put this on, and this also is part of the same filtration that goes on the bottom part, okay? For you just want to have a powerful whatever come out, okay? So and I don't use none of this right now because it's not like I'm at somebody's tap outside going to the house to steal some water. Well, I want to filter that water out. Now it's microfilm, so it's not removing fluoride and certain things. Now, in order to do that, you can purchase one that has the the charcoal carbon, very small carbon filtration that can remove those particulates, and it also has these limestones or something in it. That one costs a little bit. Now I have 2 of those, but that's for emergencies, like where I know I'm like, I don't want no more fluoride. I need to be up and at it. Okay, so I'll put this up there. I just wanted to show you guys. No, he'll get a hold of it and start playing with it as if it's a thing or something. Okay. That goes on that part right there if you want to screw it on. Okay. Now, when you put it in, it clamps. So it's hard to pull out. You don't want to keep doing that. It'll tear it up. All right. So I have about three or 4 days, and the other one lasted me for about 3 years. Now you can take it when you put it on and the water's coming out after 100,000 gallons or 100,000 gallons. All you do is take it, turn it upside down, and apply the same pressure, and that flushes it out. And the microfilm is good to go. You can keep using it over and over and over. The last one I had, because at one time the water had got a little murky, so I put the carbon in and I started using my other thing that I use to filter water until I got clear again. Then that's when I went ahead and I just threw it away because of that murk that came in through there. I wasn't going to flush all that out. I was like, I've got a bunch of them. All right. So I don't know if this is what you call it. Like I said, 100,000 plus gallons. That's a lot of water, people. All right. And for those who don't know, these are my ancient tabby shoes from when I was doing karate do, Shotokan, Goju-ryu, both of them. I used to wear these besides being barefoot all the time. All right. And these are very old. When Velcro kind of first was a thing, that's how old these are, since high school. Seriously, these are from high school. 16, 17, Goshinkai. I've kept them that long. They're very, very old. And these are from when I was in the military with Grandmaster Cam Lee doing cultural, 5 ancestral Kung Fu. These are what I used to perform in. Kung Fu shoes. Kung Fu. All right? And these are pretty old too. 1996. So since then, he gave me these. All right. So just thought I would share that with you. Let's get into reading. Gods of Eating. Gods of Eden by William Bramley. It's Verizon. Your free phone offers. I don't care about no other phones. All right, let's get into it. We can safely conclude that even if extraterrestrial craft have been flying in our skies for millennia, we cannot expect to find too much wreckage or debris. Now, the best evidence of extraterrestrial visitation that we may reasonably expect to obtain is alleged to have come from exploding UFOs have been found and made public. One such piece was reported by a Brazilian columnist who sent him to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Why would Brazil be sending him for here? Like I said, and I'll let you know. I just wanted to put it on the internet. I'm going to take it back off the internet because the internet, for some reason, downstairs, the internet's fine. I should go downstairs and read. But up here, it shouldn't be having a problem. It never had one. But like I said, it's just a reality that we watch. And I guess, his brother of mine, just real quick. Get what I was saying? I says, no, your leaders are nothing but they're that land. Back every one of them. I don't care if it flies, if it shoots, if it goes boom, pow, pip, zip, zap, whatever. Those sirens, they're going to destroy themselves. They just don't know it yet. We'll read downstairs. Yeah. Come on. I turned that off, Papa. Windows are open. So they can use whatever or do whatever. Oh, yeah. I turned the camera down. Oh, you're not in my spot? You got it all haired up? He's looking at me like, dude, what you doing down here, man? I'm going to read, bro, and I'm messing with the stuff. Let's see if we can get it up. Let me be sure. I know it's going to be kind of loud. It's going to come up. All right. Connect. Boom. Net. There we go. Yes. Let me hear how loud it is. It's good. Awesome. I just took the volume. Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Might be loud. Go back there. All right. Anyway, manufactured on Earth. The test was considered inconclusive. And Forrest states, if UFOs are extraterrestrial aircraft, there should be an undisputed. Now, it is true, however, that researchers do face a paucity of decent Now, it states in parentheses, it often proves to be a hoax, and that this happens so often that a researcher can almost count on a good flying saucer photograph eventually proving bad. This is especially true today when technical advances have made some forms of trick photography nearly undetectable. Don't worry, West Side. They do it at their own whatever. Okay. Remember, through our mind, we're so much more powerful than what some forms of trick photography nearly undetectable. Now, this still leaves the genuine extraterrestrial aircraft account for only a small percentage of the total number of UFOs reported. Now, most of those aircraft are seen at night, and the majority of close encounters, in parentheses, it states, now take place in rural, non-recreational areas where there are very few people carrying. Vast majority of camera owners, including dedicated photo buffs, do not always carry their cameras with them. At any given moment, though, surely fewer than one person in every 10,000 is carrying a camera. Did you hear that? At any given moment, surely fewer than one person in every 10,000 is carrying a camera. Where most clicking cameras would be. Given these factors, we can expect that good, genuine photos of extraterrestrial aircraft would be exceedingly rare commodities. Now remember also that camera ownership has been widespread for only a short period of time, several decades. Now y'all are aware that this is not recent writing, okay? Oh, and by no means at all. I believe they might have used this to make sci-fi stuff, which is pretty exceptional when you think about it. Wow. Okay, and out of New York. I don't even think this book company is open anymore. Is there anymore? 1989, people. Woo, that is something else. Has been widespread for only a short period of time, several decades. Now, this is not searches. Testimony is therefore insufficient evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. Perhaps the most influential UFO critic as of this writing is Philip Klass, who has been aptly dubbed the Sherlock Holmes of ufology. For his exhaustive investigations, his book UFOs Explained won the Aviation Space Writers Award for the best book on space in 1974. In that award-winning book, Mr. Klass developed several principles. The first was ufological principles. One, basically, honest and intelligent persons who are suddenly exposed to a brief, unexpected event, especially one that involves an unfamiliar object, may be grossly inaccurate in trying to describe precisely what they have seen. Now, I still call them Foo Fighters, but UFOs is what people run with, unidentified flying objects. This principle is sometimes true. It was demonstrated by a U.S. government-sponsored UFO study conducted between 1966 and 1968 under the direction of Edward U. Condon and its published findings, which are usually called the Condon Report, or a milestone in UFO literature. You might be able to pull up the CONDON report on YouTube. In one chapter of the Condon Report, the committee discusses what occurred after a Russian spacecraft Zond the 4 went awry and began its re-entry into Earth's atmosphere on March 3rd, 1968, to which we know otherwise, but we'll continue on. As the craft fell through the atmosphere and burned, it created a spectacular display for people on the ground. Eyewitnesses perceived the flaming debris as a majestic procession of fiery objects leaving behind a golden arc. It was only in separate points piling a witness testimony of the Zond 4 re-entry. It was discovered that some people saw more than there really was. If some of the erroneous observations had been taken at face value, some people would have concluded that the Zond 4 debris was actually an intelligently controlled alien spacecraft. For example, 5 eyewitnesses reported that the lights were part of a cigar-shaped or rocket-shaped craft, a common UFO. One observer claimed that the object had made a vertical descent. Because of these blatant errors, Mr. Klass and others understandably labeled all cigar-shaped UFOs, unidentified flying objects with bright windows, as meteors. The Condon Committee cited the Zond 4 testimony as an example of why eyewitness reports are often inadequate to establish that a UFO is an extraterrestrial spacecraft. Case closed. Not quite. Pay attention. In this ufological principle I quoted above, Mr. Class states that eyewitnesses may be grossly inaccurate in trying to discern. The committee discovered that at least half of the Zon 4 eyewitnesses gave accurate, unembellished reports of the event. The observations of a cigar-shaped craft with windows came only from a minority. From the accurate report, a careful UFO researcher would have been able to eliminate the erroneous descriptions and correctly identify the Zon 4 reentry as debris of a meteoric phenomenon. Excuse me. A meteorite or meteoric phenomenon means something falling. That's what that means, as crazy as that sounds. I hope you're not tired while I'm yawning. The committee also analyzed a wave of UFO reports triggered by several college students who had released 4 hot air balloons into the evening sky. Now, the balloons were made of plastic dry cleaning bags, and the hot air was gathered by birthday candles suspended underneath. The committee analyzed the testimony of 14 eyewitnesses who did not know what the flying objects were. With only minor deviations among them, all 14 observers gave accurate descriptions of what it was possible for them to actually see. Now, the committee concluded, in summary, we have a number of reports that are highly consistent with one another, and those differences that do occur are no greater than would be expected from situational and perceptual differences. Many small discrepancies could be pointed, I think I got some, what you call it in my eye. Anyway, differences. Many small discrepancies could be pointed out, especially with regard to estimates of distance and direction, but these are not enough to affect the overall impression of the event. This demonstrates something very important that we cannot express in our own ufological principle. Basically, honest and intelligent persons who are suddenly exposed to a brief, unexpected event, including one that involves an unfamiliar object, will, in the majority of cases, be accurate in trying to describe precisely what they have seen. Now, what does that have to do? It plays a major part. Let me get this pen. In this whole story, because you got to remember, we're talking about Anunnakis and all the whole sort. Okay. And there we go. What you looking at, Papa? You don't look. You in my home, fool. Don't get it twisted. There we go. I didn't bring the highlighter with me. Whoops, daisy. Whoopee. Okay. Reptilians in the history of humankind or Anunnaki. It's funny how it's working just fine, isn't it? Let me just let y'all see that again. Okay. You like listening to me read, Papa? Yeah, I'm getting a little, I don't know why I'm yawning and everything. It makes no sense. The backward evolution. Enlil continued with his supreme mandate. He decided to resume mining works, focusing on the extraction of gold. By that time, an Anunnaki explorer had already discovered large gold deposits in what we now know as Africa. During almost 400 years of absence of Anu and Enki, 400 years, right? It says, interpretation, right? Self-interpretation is Africa. We now know as Africa. During almost 400 years of absence of Anu and Enki, the 5th race of human Lulus was used almost completely for works of extraction of gold and in the construction of a road to transport them towards the first Anunnaki settlement located in Iraq, which would be Ur. Now, the more fortunate Lulus were used in this settlement for the construction of large temples, and during Enlil's leadership, knowledge was not transmitted to humans. The only thing that was taught to them was the same belief system that their ancestors had before the Great Flood. This system created by Anu and Enlil was very simple. The humans were created by the Anunnaki gods, and they could destroy them if they did not follow their mandates. This is why they had to make human sacrifices to appease their anger. They were also taught that there were hierarchies within their gods. The supreme god was Anu, then Enki and Enlil. From there, Ninhursag, and so until reaching the minor gods who were the Igigi, the gray ones. In the last step were the hybrids, who were the priests who had the privilege of not working and were leaders of the humans. To this belief system, now, I believe this is mostly a perversion of narrative based on some facts maybe relevant to certain periods of time. Because when you want to write yourself into being something greater, wouldn't you converse with certain individuals and they will relay these messages to keep the mindset? So be mindful when I'm reading this, not to run full head, all right, headstrong or head first into the wall. Okay. To this belief system, to this belief system, Enlil added the universal flood that was taught to the Lulus as a lesson the gods had given to humans for not obeying their orders. It should be noted that Enlil prohibited, under pain of death, the pregnancy of Anunnaki females that were caused by human Lulus. Since description, the giants went extinct of our human females, thing that was not forbidden, but that was not very more frequent. And Marduk, on the other hand, finished the 700 humans and delivered 130 of them to the interterrestrials to use them as geneticists. Went to the Abzu to teach them the secrets of genetic manipulation, were handed over to Enlil and distributed in the first settlement and in different mines of Africa and the Middle East for the mining works. Now Marduk developed a close relationship with Enlil, just as his father Enki had ordered him. Enlil suspected this sudden approach of his nephew, and for which he started to show him the adorable and irresistible sensation that produced the subtle energies penetrated by humans when they suffered or were sacrificed. That means the pain. They loathed and loved the pain. Marduk, little by little, started to fall into the fascination of human emotions, and to the point of almost becoming addicted to it. His favorite sensation was that children emanated just before being sacrificed. In general, it was the sensation most requested by the reptilian Anunnaki. Now, we know there's a period of sacrifices that are true. What brought it upon that horrific aspect of it? There are many more things in bogs and deep crevices and holes and old taverns and melted buildings that are now mountains where they find the bones of this. Even some where you could tell surgery was done, not to save a life, and even cannibalism, and not just war, but tons of bones in the pits of sacrifices. Oh yeah, they've been there, and it's written history and it's real. Marduk realized that Enlil had ordered the creation of numerous temples in honor of him and questioned him why he had done it. He was asked if he wanted to be more revered than his father. Enlil replied, definitely not. And they were simply the first of many temples that he would send to build honoring the main gods. And he informed that the next 5 temples were to be built in honor of him. Something very convenient for this god addict to human. This god addict, addicted. It should say addicted. It says addict. It should say addicted. Anyway, something very convenient for this god addicted to human sacrifices. It should be noted that human sacrifices were made every 5 to 6 months. That is twice a year. However, it was a very short period in relation to the Draconians' time. That was the time when which the Anunnaki were synchronized. Wow. The gold that was mined was transformed in its majority into monoatomic gold, with which the less evolved Anunnaki and older ones could heal, prevent from getting old, and remain more time on the surface of the earth. Now, I heard of taking gold and being able to manipulate it. And we know what it's called metallurgy, but it's more than that. Because gold is medicinal, just as copper, platinum, and even silver. Am I wrong? Let's get into the Hathor material. Messages from an ascended civilization. Hey, Rondo, what's going on? West Side, James Gip. Oklahoma, Oklahoma, Mikey Hill. So glad you guys are here. I don't know how many are watching actually. I know it's still working hours. It's still pretty early. It's about like it's just turning 11. Okay, so let's get in here. Oh wow, y'all, I've been really leaving some letters. Wow. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into this. We're still dealing with. Don't start that now, okay? Probably has to poo. Hathors and Virginia are still having this discussion, which is pretty long. And so the Hathors, I believe, responded to Virginia's inquisitiveness just on the day before, where she was alluding to from space. Are they from space? And they stated yes, from the Palladius to Palladium, Syrians, etc., etc. Palladium, Syrians, etc. So Virginia. So what, Papa? What is it? You want to say hi? Huh? You want to say bye, Papa? Huh? Oh, yes. I'm gonna get you some treats, okay? Yeah, I know. Gotta take a break from that stuff. He was pooping too much. Yeah. Come on, say hi. Come on. Say hi, Papa. Say hi. How you doing? Okay. All right. I'm gonna read. Virginia. So okay. Say hi. Here, can you see? Here, bring it down. Say hi. He is so big, isn't he? Oh, okay. Let me finish reading. Okay. Okay. Come on. Just to get back from waking you up. Yeah, because I don't want that 4 o'clock stuff, man. You do it every day like clockwork. I'm not in the military. It's not boot camp. Okay. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I know. Yes. That's my little big bro. Yeah. You gonna rub on that too, huh? You just in that kind of moment, huh? Let me open the window. Come on. Let's open the window. Come on. I know you want to see your buddy outside. Come on. Let's open. Ready? Come on. Ugh. There you go. Get him, buddy. That's my little bro. All right. My apologies, guys. Yeah. Okay. So Virginia. So are you saying at some point that oh wow. There's a tribe known as the Dogon. This tribe has knowledge about Sirius, the Dogon people, about Sirius and his smaller sister. This smaller star was not discovered in have known of it for thousands of years. This knowledge comes from their interactions with the Syrians who came to Africa thousands of years ago. They came to Africa thousands of years ago. This knowledge comes from interactions with the Syrians who came to Africa thousands of years ago as part of their investigation of this planet. We know that's not how it works, but we're going to keep it going. The Syrians were, by that time, a highly advanced intergalactic civilization. Look up the word galactic and have a truth in its understanding. It doesn't mean out there in some fake nebula that they've created. Nebula is of the mind. Remember that, people. I need you to remember that. And look it up. And if you find information on it, talk about it. Virginia states, thank you. I'd like to be clear that your choices to assist us were not because of previous misdeeds that had to be corrected. And the Hathor said, misdeeds? On whose parts? Well, Virginia states, yours and others. Sometimes the visitors come from another place and they do things that later perhaps were not in the best interest of the developing consciousness. What would she be alluding to that for? Would that be based upon the Anunnaki and the custodians? Well, the Hathors. Oh, that. They laugh. Yes, there were misdeeds done on this planet, and that is one reason we were called through the portal of Sirius to the solar system to be your guardians and elder brothers and sisters. Guardians may not be the right term because some may think that because we are here, you do not have to take responsibility. Now, and that is not what we mean. We mean that we hold a certain vibration that is helpful for you as a human civilization, and that vibration is held constant for your support. In Virginia states, you mentioned that you originally came through Sirius. Could you say more about that? Well, the Hathors respond, Sirius is a portal from other dimensions, not a nebula, a star system, or a planet of the universe, which they may be difficult to comprehend in terms of three-dimensional space, because the portal leads to a non-physical dimensional space that is our true home. Non-physical. Non-physical dimensional space is a difficult concept for beings living in three dimensions. It would be like the period at the end of the sentence, a two-dimensional space, trying to comprehend the paper on which it appears and the space surrounding the being, you, that is looking at it. It simply does not have a reference point from its own experience to understand anything higher or more complex than two dimensions. Nevertheless, we entered this three-dimensional reality through Sirius. I guess they were serious when they came. Sirius is a kind of nexus point, a certain particular place, okay, for your universe. We're the strands. Strand, remember yesterday? Strand, that's why it was important that I put it up, of your space-time continuum meet and interesting with non-physical hyperspace. Would that be a portal? Some place that we have yet to tap into that is not really meant to be? This is indeed a strange concept, and we could spend a long time discussing it, since that is not the purpose of this book. Let's just say that non-physical hyperspace is a kind of matrix within universal consciousness itself. As consciousness creates a universe, the power of the mind, a better place, or a lifting of this one, it does so by polarizing itself into a nexus point, which becomes a physical location in space, which in turn begins the process you call time, ether, right? Everything around you. However, as we entered this three-dimensional universe, our first physical home was in the Sirius system. From there, we traveled to Venus to be closer to Earth. Oh, the map's upstairs to show you where Venus is in relation to Earth, our Earth. It's pretty awesome. And Virginia states, when you came around 12,000 years ago, that would have been after the fall of Atlantis. Atlantean? Hathors, yes, 10,000 BC was after the fall of Atlantis. At that time, we were actively working in Egypt through the archetypal image of Hathor. We had also, however, worked with a few highly developed individuals, seers, in both Atlantis and Lemuria. When it became clear that Atlantis and Lemuria would fall, we guided some of these individuals into Egypt. This was done to protect the great work of alchemy, so that the knowledge and the line of initiates could be protected from devastation. We were not the only intergalactic culture to seed Egypt. By the way, the Arcturians and the Palladians also guided some of their human initiates into northern Africa at this time. Virginia, and when you say you work with people, what does that mean? Well, the Hathor's response is, we are masters of sound and energy and love. In relation to humans, we work primarily through the feeling nature, what you might call the emotional body. As masters of interdimensional space, we can contact humans quite easily. Contact will usually be experienced by you as clairaudient voice transmissions, clairvoyant seeing and visions, and intuitions, and appearances in dreams. We made contact with the early Egyptians through the goddess Hathor, which they experienced through mystical visions through the cult of the goddess, and we were able to help the Egyptians create a spiritual golden age, which culminated in the creation of the mystery schools. Through these esoteric centers, we were able to assist with the training of initiates, a positive influence which spread throughout the world. Now, the influence of these mystery schools is still active in the world, and we might add some of these schools are hidden, although some of them are becoming public again. Now, the ways in which we work vary, but most often one or more of us makes psychic contact with an individual human and begins to instruct him or her according to our understanding. We never impose ourselves. When asked to assist, we will do so, but only within set guidelines. These guidelines ensure that we will not interfere with human choice or destiny. Now you might start realizing that there is a perversion to all of this that stands out, right? If we were to sit here and say, oh, this stuff sounds plausible and possible, based upon your intuitiveness and your opinion, is it plausible? Is there a possibility? Maybe a strong one, right? Anything is possible. Is it or is it not? Remember that. Let me get to the right page here. Yeah, I looked up also Chief Monogamous Colorado's, which Snoo also had did. So I hope y'all looked into that. I do. Very, very informative. Now, Happening or Not Yet Happening by Rosalind Juma, especially written in this novel, September 2020. We're going to be getting into sessions 2, Mistakes of the Past. Okay, but let me go ahead and read this. Buried antiquities under the ground, digging for submerged truths where they can be found. So many cultures. Let me read this one. I want you to pay attention. Custodians of time. Remember, buried antiquities under the ground, digging for submerged truths where they can be found. So many cultures murdered, so many books been burned, ashes clouding darkened skies, next generation growing up unlearned, colonize, improvise. Aggressors' legacy, impoverished land, families ripped apart through man-made destiny, reach out over choppy seas to grasp drowning hand. Pollution through power's heritage, pollution too of our waters, insecticides poisoning the insides. Pollution to our waters, insecticides poisoning the insides. Sound like Roundup? Of our sons and of our daughters, divided world, between rich and poor, fertile soil, smothered under concrete, is it forest fire or tale of opportunist liar? Investigations somehow never complete, alliances or compliances may hide raw intention under banner, committees and cabals with dubious morals, operate in chameleon-like manner in school. We learn some history, selective, not to help us know how to solve the age of old mysteries. So, that's pretty fucking deep. Sessions 2, Mistakes of the Past. Recorded Wednesday, 22nd January 2020. Present was Dr. William Bullis, Professor Charles Appleyard, Detective Chief, Superintendent Marcus Thomas, and Historian Miss Tricia Hunt, newly assigned to the case. Hey, Rondo, what's going on, beloved? Marcus Thomas was the definitive male chauvinist. His attitude changed in the blink of an eye the minute Tricia Hunt entered the private hospital room, where the talkative patient was happily playing host. Tricia Hunt was indeed young, probably not more than 25. She had long golden hair, was well-groomed, and immaculately dressed. She appeared much taller than her photograph portrayed, but Charlie Appleyard noted the reason. She was sporting a pair of 6-inch heels. Marcus turned his back on the historian without even greeting her with a good morning. His action with the others was not exactly hospitable either. But that was Marcus. You see how I dealt with his wife. Tea and crumpets, bitch. Excuse me. The language. I don't mean it as a swear. A damn student, a mere girl just out of her teens, no doubt. Marcus Thomas was on form today. Very well, let's get this show started. Appleyard and Bullis thought this session with Tricia Hunt might be difficult due to Marcus's arrogance. Together with the fact Marcus hated to work alongside women did not help, especially if they knew more than he. Now, Marcus put a cigarette to his lips and was about to light up when Bullis and Appleyard simultaneously reminded him that smoking was not allowed. The tape recorder buzzed as it was switched on. Those present, apart from the patient, gave their names along with the time and date. Bullis looked at the man lying on the bed and was happier now that the nurses had given him a bed bath. He was wearing a hospital nightgown, but he had clearly refused to have his beard and hair trimmed. Bullis and Appleyard seemed drawn to the patient in some strange way, but Marcus Thomas still had deep reservations regarding the injured man, mind you. Tricia Hunt, a 20-plus historian fresh out of university, sat alongside the police inspector, wondering if her specific knowledge of Egyptian antiquities would meet with their approval. Marcus tried his best to look bored, even before the patient started talking. He stood and paced up and down the small room, but he resumed his seat once the session began. This was unsettling to Tricia. She wondered what was behind Thomas's action. Was Marcus Thomas fearful of the patient, or was he trying to convey that disquiet he had held towards others? Suddenly, the patient began to speak, and she had to fight to keep her brain functioning. The custodian made a solemn promise never to challenge any of your laws of nature or the teachings of philosophy and science. Furthermore, we pledge to adhere to the 7 majestic rules. It's always 7. 7 sisters, 7 mountains, 7 hills, 7 eyes. Nature, realism, and practicality, actuality, simplicity, expediency, and truth. These rules are never to be touched. And let's read the rules again, because I know I said it pretty fast. Furthermore, we pledge to adhere to the 7 majestic rules: nature, realism, practicality, actuality, simplicity, expediency, and truth. These rules are never to be touched or tainted by the unclean, wicked hands of mankind. Now, let us proceed on to other matters, mind you. Tricia sensed Marcus looking at her, no doubt wondering if she had any clues as to what the patient was talking about. He had no idea of the 7 majestic rules, and he hoped this girl straight from school was equally ignorant. We custodians, as he went on to say, unlike you, have always been aware of the mystery surrounding the disappearance of the Mary Celeste, an American brigantine found abandoned 400 nautical miles off the coast of the Azores. Now, that might go back to Atlantean, right? The Atlantean, remember? Anyway, are those seeking the North Pole? Anyway, Mary Celeste, an American brigantine, found abandoned 400 nautical miles off the coast of the Azores. Regarding this vessel, we custodians have to protect the whereabouts of her original crew and their descendants, for we believe no good can come from revealing why her crew abandoned the safety of the ship. All I can tell you is they lived a happy and contented life. There have been other occasions where ships and aircraft have disappeared without trace. It does no good to dwell on such things, or to reveal any information as to why these events happen, especially if they are chained in grief. Now, I am repeatedly asked if custodians ever make mistakes, and if so, could they be rectified? My answer must always be an emphatic no. A mistake must remain a mistake, for what has happened in the past must stay unchanged there, and our order must live with that responsibility of those consequences. Sometimes, although not often, I have documented man's mistakes as humorous, but those I speak of now border on the insane and idiotic. We see that now, don't we? I and you and I. One such time was when Alaska was governed by the Soviet Union. Yes, the Russians decided to sell the land to America for a pittance, as they trusted this would offend England's plans within the Crimea. Heck, nugget. Anyway, when I think back, this was an example of childish tit-for-tat stupidity. Another example of man's idiocy occurred 100 years prior to James Cook's discovery of Australia. Discovery. The Neanderthals had already settled there, but dismissed the sightings as nothing more than an isolated land, unfit for human inhabitants. I was in the Netherlands. I said Neanderthal, Netherlands. Anyway, I was in the Netherlands in 1637 when an idiotic craze gripped the nation. The Dutch were so obsessed with tulips that one single bulb could be exchanged for a ton of butter, 1,000 pounds of cheese, or 12 sheep. Eventually, it got to the point when craftsmen were being paid 10 times their annual salary in exchange for a single tulip bulb. This tulip, hey, Alicia Cooper, this tulip mania, as it was referred, brought the Netherlands close to bankruptcy. But the locals thought of it as Holland's golden age, and it was considered to be the first speculative or economic bubble until 80 years later, a much larger bubble mesmerized the world. How men of Sir Isaac Newton's stature could believe in such diversity, but believe he did, and he lost his entire fortune in the process. What the hell? I'm gonna have to look into that, man. Tulips were first introduced to Vienna in 1554 from the Ottoman Empire. They were, who remembers what we're reading? I'm gonna read that later when in the 13th tribe. The Ottoman Empire, Turks, Khazars, Gog, Magog, Mongols. Okay. They were imported into the Dutch ports of Antwerp and Amsterdam. Oh man, I miss Amsterdam. But also the German city of Augsburg. Augsburg. Listen to this. Up until 1555, their intensely colored blooms made them both rare and highly desirable, especially within Europe, and they swiftly became a status symbol which helped increase Holland's trading fortunes. Up until the 17th century, the tulip bulb became a coveted commodity. Trade in this highly inflated item, it grew rapidly until, at its peak in the month of February 1637, the price fell dramatically. 1637. We're going to stop at that because that is very informative. I just want to say. That goes on. This right here in the custodians, he is telling a story based on so-called Europe, dealing with Germany, and these different places. And what's funny is this has nothing to do with the 13th tribe, Arthur Kessler. And we just read verbatim as being told this history by the custodian and his perversion. What we're reading, which we will read later. And I'll reiterate some of the information I think y'all find pretty exposing. Is that pretty weird or what? It's pretty weird, right? The navigator who crossed the ice walls, worlds beyond Antarctica and Nos Compound. And now brother Claudio Nocelli, right on the back there. Chapter 10, The Domes, the Learning of the Worlds Beyond the Ice Walls. All right. I'm getting hungry too. I have not ate. What was that? Chapter 10, The Domes, the Learning of the Worlds Beyond the Ice Walls. The past of the giants or giant humans was hidden forever. Their technology and bones were as sadly hidden and forgotten as the greatness of their history. And new discoveries of giants will be today and in the future simply ridiculed, some even intermingled with beasts that never inhabited these lands, the eternal known lands where their oceans are stained with ancestral blood, which could have changed everything. The custodians made a pact. Never the human of the new reset could know that a force was possible to defeat his invisible colonizer. He would not even know this time that there was a force above that controlled his lands and in his environment that made him live an empty life, where the messages would be based on his exploitation of all kinds. His degraded spirit. In this chapter, we will see the origin of the human being, an essential being. Wow. An essential being with infinite spiritual potential. Your potential is beyond you haven't even tapped into a tenth of the percent out of 100 of what you're capable of. Those who want to keep them in an almost unbearable oppression, and those, excuse me, as well as why the other races are interested in him. Those who want to keep them in an almost unbearable oppression, and those who want to make them escape towards their immense spiritual freedom. Is this possible? The previous day had been so important that I had not even fallen into the world of dreams until my body tried to reconcile in a strange night of sky illuminated by that mysterious and huge full moon. It was so hard to sleep that the whole group stayed up until what we imagined was very late, even though we didn't see the sun peek out before finally getting a wink of sleep. Excuse me. Conversations obviously revolved around everything that had been happening to us, but especially the little we had been informed had already fallen like a fierce storm overseas. Our minds by then were mere vessels in search of survival. The storm was the truth that not only fell on our face and plunged into our interior, but also generated the most gigantic waves that made each of us reel abruptly, reel to reel back, okay? Have they conditioned our minds so much we repeat it to ourselves over and over again? Now, in this story, is this story real? He questions. But how can we doubt this story when we are in the lands behind the ice walls and living with the same ancient giant humans? I think that from so much analysis, we passed out until a few hours ago or later. Stay away from my truck. Butler woke us up, and we came out of these domes that maintained a strange temperature that seemed to be regulated. It was always cool in there and outside, and the heat was sometimes unbearable. There were fruits of all kinds, and we had never even seen or tasted most of them. Some vegetation peeping out of the distance also had strange colors that were hard for me to decipher. Shiki was wearing a very colorful and summery dress. Her face was more beautiful in the sunlight. I think several of the group had been enraptured by her mere presence. After breakfast, we were able to have a private chat together with Butler, and Shiki began to tell me other details of the book and the history of the races. Now, yesterday I told you about the so-called Old Treaty, which was made between parts of the custodians and the Anunnaki. What were they looking for with that treaty? I dared to ask. I think that this question even came from within me, driven by the same anxiety to know everything, but it also generated the way to what was going to be, without a doubt, a unique conversation. Shiki continued in her narrative by saying, William, first you have to know that the custodians and Anunnaki have something in common, and that which unites them in that their technology is primarily based on armaments and military development, because they are colonizers from birth. When they arrive in a certain circle, a certain circle like ours, they look for ways to penetrate it to see how they can benefit. Study the life found there, and if it serves them, they could own it or create different agreements for their benefit in its development. In fact, it is the seed that they implanted in the ancient humans. The custodians are also known for their advanced ships and for being among the few to know the 178 worlds or circles around the known lands. Now, what What is that about, the Great Dome? What does it mean? I asked innocently. William, each circle is divided by one or several different domes, depending on what encompasses that circle. This dome is a kind of membrane that divides a system, and this information is very advanced for the time where you come from. But I imagine you have heard of the cellular theory. The cellular theory. These circles, we could roughly compare them to what we call a cell and its plasma membrane. This dome membrane is a wall invisible to our eyes, although some races can make it out. That divides two systems that are similar or many differ in their totality, but have connections in different parts. What we know from the information taken from the custodians is that all the circles or worlds that are known have some connection between the inner and outer system. Check this out, except one, which is considered the most important and which led just to this old treaty between custodians and Anunnaki. These races are adept at manipulating environments as they have sufficient technology to do so within the dome of any known world. These connections between inner and outer worlds are not simple to find, but the races that have managed to get out and those that base their technological advances both in conquest or in their mission to explore make long journeys with the reason to gather information from other worlds, also develop different types of systems to find the way to find these entrances and exits more easily. Maybe that's what CERN's about. There are also portals that connect different lands, but that is another subject, Stargate, that you will discover throughout your stay outside your homelands and how much of the technology works here. Now that the circle that I was telling you about, the 178 known ones, now that circle that I was telling you about, the 178 known ones, was impossible for them to access, even using the most advanced custodial technology. And then this became their obsession. These lands where no one could enter, or at least no one could what? And stop. I see you looking at me. At least no one could enter and get out of there alive. Are the celestial lands. Listen to this. Why isn't that punctuated? I need to punctuate this. My fault. Okay. These lands where no one could enter, comma, or at least no one could enter and get out of there alive, comma, are the celestial lands. And as each custodial attempt was thwarted, an agreement was made with the Anunnaki to jointly develop technology that could open the way inside and unveil the mystery of what was there. Now, semicolon right there, period, and semicolon right there. Okay. It was no punctuations for real, y'all. The reason for the obsession was the rumor that the celestial lands would be found. The secret. The reason for the obsession was the rumor that the celestial lands would be found. The secret that would lead to being able to penetrate the great dome that divides the known worlds from the outside. What do you mean by the great dome? The question came from inside me almost without wanting to interrupt, but with the anxiety that all this generated in me. Of this great dome, we have very little information that we were able to gather from the custodians. What we know so far is that it would be a great dome. It would be a great dome that envelops the 178 worlds inside, where the theory goes that no way out or in has ever been found, and there is no information regarding what lies beyond this great dome. Now, the custodians and Anunnaki work together with the great scientists to carry out a never-before-seen development, basing their technology entirely on discovering the impenetrable celestial Earth. What would be found there? And on that question, they based their development on their long years to come. They reached a point where the technology had advanced exponentially, so much so that they were able to pass through the first dome. But another problem arose. The beings that passed through the first dome died pulverized almost instantly. Isn't that like water? Like the Titan? They found no answer to this and tried in various ways and with the use of various races, but they all died in the same way. Later, in their extensive study of such lands, they came to the conclusion that within did not exist physical bodies, but a conscious energy which they call the source, or the source of life. The theory goes that this energy began to perceive the danger of custodial and Anunnaki technology and acted accordingly to safeguard its environment. That's why I said they have to keep y'all spiritually dead, giving you all this outside religions and other crap, and they got to mess with your body so that way you cannot elevate yourself. And yet, hear you as you are. You can raise your frequencies and everything, no matter what they've done. Then this conscious energy split, taking the body of the five masters who give life to the human beings, occupying lands around your home or homelands. Let me read that again. And then this conscious energy split, taking the body of the five masters who gave life to the human being, occupying lands around your home or homelands. What? Relax, bro. They first started with Asgard to the north, a remote place bounded by mountainous areas very difficult to discover. Then, as they developed, they took lands in Lemuria, Atlantis, and the center of their lands, which they called Hyperborea, which in turn had a direct connection to the outside world with Asgard, their land of origin, by means of a connecting portal. And yet they give you Thor, Asgard, all this beautiful nonsense, and people aren't getting the fact that in order to tell a story, they're using all the information around them. And that's that. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I don't know why I'm not tired, but I'm yawning and sneezing and da-da-da-da-da. Not a cold. Anyway, I'm hungry. I'm gonna shout you guys out. I hope I'm appreciative of those who hung around. I shouted you guys out earlier. APJR, what's going on, beloved? Alicia Cooper. Already my boy up. So anyway, that's that. And later on, we're gonna come back. I'm about to make something to eat because I'm famished. And this working out, you gotta eat something. And I didn't take that pill because, like I said, making certain things tingly and numb, which is not beneficial or healthy. I always pay attention. I need to get blood work done, but I don't really trust these fools anyway. I have a friend who's a nurse. I think both of them, him and her, are both nurses. I believe they could probably do a blood test for me. They have a centrifugal and all that, and they got this little thing with this electronic stuff, with a microscope, whatever it is, where they can test and read stuff out on a chart. They have it at the house. So maybe I'll go over there and have them draw some blood and read and see what minerals am I missing, or do I have too many of certain minerals? Anyway, let's go ahead and shut this down. I appreciate y'all taking the time and hanging out. Again, thanks, brother, for the 15. Appreciate you. And I'm gonna leave it there. And when we get up to about 120, then I'll order some more books. I'm waiting on these books. Hopefully, maybe they come today or tomorrow. We'll see. I haven't seen nothing in Gmail. I'll go to the post office a little later, but I'm gonna eat, relax a little bit, come back on and read again. Hopefully, I don't know what this is. I might be just, like I said, I worked out this morning, got my little run, walk in, everything. So I can't push too hard, but I'm capable. And I appreciate y'all taking the time. All right, my beloved sisters, and like you can hear in my reading, it's like I all of a sudden become tired. Like I said, let me share this with y'all. Upstairs, it used to happen down here. I unplugged the TV. I stopped coming down here. I was upstairs. Then all of a sudden, the issue started upstairs. And I'm like, you can't be kidding me. These platforms, the idiots in the idiot boxes, not you, the ones who are in control of the perversions of this, they can't help themselves. That's why I say don't fret, never get upset. Do not allow yourself to be angered or mad. Anger is fine, but there's no reason. There's nothing you could do unless you make a choice to do something. Then you say least. All right? So I appreciate y'all. And I hope it's playing through. All right? I hope you can see me and hear me. Anyway, see y'all here in a little bit. All right, a couple hours. God damn.